Hello, my name is DCVesser. I'm the author of books by DCVesser, and today I want to just kind of introduce this new YouTube channel and give you a little bit of background about myself here. As I said, I'm the author of books by DCVesser, and currently I have 3 books in publication, but for personal reasons and rewrite and other considerations, I've decided to take one book off the shelf. And so instead of having available Don't Let Them Win, More Than Don't Let Them Win, and just about everything you should know about a handgun, I've narrowed that down to just More Than Don't Let Them Win and just about everything you should know about handgun. Now, the books themselves, I'll explain them in later YouTube sessions, but just in general, the More Than Don't Let Them Win is a rewrite of Don't Let Them Win, which is I guess it's an education in socialism and communism, but we particularly focus on conservative thoughts, trains of thoughts and points of view, and how they conflict with one another. The just about everything you should know about a handgun teaches you a vernacular of handgun and also different stances and safety measures, procedures for manipulating a handgun. I don't try to tell you how to shoot a handgun because shooting is kind of personal upon you at your personal level of expertise with shooting and your skills and accuracies, your desire to become a better shooter and all that. But I do teach you about the nomenclatures of both the revolver and the semi-automatic handgun, different words we use commonly on range and techniques for, like I said, handgun manipulation. My 4th book that's coming out is Political Corruption. It's the other PC. Of course, we all talk about PC frequently. When we do talk about PC, we generally mean political correctness. This has absolutely nothing to do with political correctness. This is a book about political corruption. And I talk about current events here in the United States, such as George Soros's Open Society Foundation, and such as Ilhan Omar's stating in print that she can manipulate the press. Well, it's not difficult for a liberal to manipulate the press when it's the liberal that owns the media outlets, most of the media outlets around the world. And George Soros's Open Society Foundation owns considerable of those. To name a few: NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN. You kind of get the point, but that's what's coming in the future is political corruption, the other PC. Just a little about how this form is going to work, how I anticipate this form working, is I talk a great deal about what I think is important on the public stage. For example, but we have different situations going on in the world today. For example, I'm not going to try to downplay the importance of COVID-19, but I am going to try to convey to you my thought that there are political reasons to politicize the COVID-19, which is what we're doing. Actually, we're allowing our media and our liberal forms of government around the United States, throughout many states that have liberal or Democrat governors, mayors, senators, at large, whatever form of government they choose to support. We talk about the fallacies of trying to promote unconstitutional laws. We also talk about the difference between constitutional laws, those laws which are supported by our Constitution of the United States of America, and the unconstitutional laws will be those laws that our Constitution does not support. For example, one clear example of what our Constitution does not support as far as laws in the United States is anything that goes against the Constitution is not supported by the Constitution, obviously. And if those laws, for example, sanctuary type laws for illegals, for example, sanctuary laws for illegals are not supported by the Constitution, and therefore that makes them unconstitutional laws. Okay? Now, lots of venues such as San Francisco County, San Francisco City, they've made their own laws, which clearly states in the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution that no state should try to enforce a law that supersedes or goes beyond those laws clearly described and defined in our Constitution. So, since our Constitution does not have any aspect for foundations, any kind of sanctuaries for illegals, we cannot support those laws. While at the same time, laws that are supported by our Constitution, such as the amendments, the first 10 amendments, the 14 amendments, I guess, the 15 amendments, the 18 amendments, the 27 amendments. We have a total of 27 amendments in our Constitution. Those laws, for example, are number one, our First Amendment, the right, of course, to freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, of freedoms, all kinds of freedoms as outlined in the First Amendment. Those are laws that we can draw from that will be constitutional laws, such as here in Virginia, we're in Virginia right now, and in Virginia, back in January, we had a lot of legislation to try to make Virginia a sanctuary state for the Second Amendment. Of course, as you know, part of the Second Amendment states it's your right to own and bear arms. The governor said that it is not a right to own and bear arms. Well, it clearly states in the Constitution under our Second Amendment that we have that right. And our governor in Virginia was going to try to make all of our sheriffs exercise laws against our Constitution in order to confiscate Virginians' handguns, in order to make illegal the purchase of handguns, and enforcement of such laws that would prohibit, infringe upon our rights, as those rights are supported in the Second Amendment. So we'll talk about those kind of issues as well. What I talk about a lot is information that's kind of foreign to me, and don't take my definition of foreign as being from a different country or speaking a different language or akin to that type of foreign. What I'm calling foreign is something that is unfamiliar to me. It's unfamiliar to me how to rationalize such thing as Katie Steinle when she was killed on Pier 14 in San Francisco County. And the person that did this to Katie Steinle, he was not only an illegally here in the United States, he had been deported from the United States at a minimum 5 times, and he returned to the United States only to be incarcerated for drug abuse, drug sales, drug addiction, and finally murder, which he was exonerated of. He never spent a minute in jail other than pre-trial confinement for his charge of murder. He was charged with first-degree murder, second-degree homicide, and possession of a weapon by a drug felon, which is also illegal in California. But he was exonerated of all those charges, not found guilty at all. And that's been over 2 years that Katie Steinle's family has been fighting for justice for Katie. And don't you know, they've not won one round. We talk about things that are also foreign to my way of thought. We talk about things, for example, our candidate for president that recently withdrew from the candidacy for president of the United States. But Bernie Sanders promised all sorts of free benefits. Nancy Pelosi continues to support free everything. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she wants free lots of stuff. And Ilhan Omar, they all promise free, free, free. But the fact is that there is nothing in this world that is free. It might be free to an individual, but somebody has to pay for that. Winds up the taxpayer dollar pays for all that free stuff that you believe that you're entitled to. Other things that we're going to discuss, for example, did you know that George Soros. Okay, name you're perhaps familiar with. But did you know that George Soros is the owner and co-financier of a organization called Open Society Foundation? One of the things that the Open Society Foundation wants to do, their little acronym is OSF. One of the things that the OSF wants to do is remove all borders from around the world. And in doing so, when we remove borders, such as the border between Mexico and the United States, Canada and the United States, from Guam to Puerto Rico to South America, to anywhere, we remove those borders. It allows non-citizens the right to just kind of co-integrate with and mingle amongst those people that are legally there supporting a society, and they mooch off of our, number one, our sympathies, and number two, our monies, and they take these freedoms that we allow them to have and kind of convolute society for us. I am not quite certain how things become free to some, but they're never free to others. Did you know that through George Soros's Open Society Foundation, American taxpayer dollars pay for taxpayer funded upon demand abortions around the world? When I say taxpayer funded, I'm talking about United States taxpayers. Nobody else contributes to this taxpayer funded abortions on demand other than American taxpayers. And it's your taxpayer dollar that are paying for abortions around the world in countries such as Sweden, Switzerland, Africa, anywhere in Africa, anywhere in the world, you name it, you're entitled to upon demand, a free abortion paid for by the American taxpayer. So there's lots of things to discuss in today's world. One thing that I will try to convince to you is my thought that, the quickest way to get back on top of our economy is perhaps to go back to work. And I, again, not trying to downplay the importance of COVID-19 or anything like that, but I believe it's far time, well past time for us to get back to work, go to work in our society, earn money, allow people to go out like they used to go out and sit down at some restaurant and have a meal, and go to a barber's chair and sit down and have a haircut, and go to a dog salon, take care of your dog or your cat or whatever pet you might have, allow them to get groomed and kind of pampered a little bit like we all have been accustomed to. But there's no way in the world to get back to that as long as we have a liberal government that's fighting. Just the other day I read in the paper where the administration from Pennsylvania is going to they're going to make it illegal for you to go back to work if the conservatives try to enforce us going back to work. And the conservative government, of course, the conservative party owns the United States right now, but it's the liberal agenda that's getting pushed far more and far greater than any conservative agenda has ever been pushed since this administration. Okay, I think that we need to support our president. I think that our president is doing a fine job. We are economically sound now, even though we lost a considerable amount the last couple of months because of this shutdown. We need to get back to work, ladies and gentlemen. Free time's over. Having said all that, I guess I'll wrap it up. I see I've gone past the 2 or 3 or 4 minutes I was going to originally talk about, but now well past 14 minutes now. And I just want to thank you all for listening. There are a couple of things that I've written down that I'd like you to consider. I'll get to the end of my little prepared speech here, but what I'd like you to do is when you listen to this, after you listen to this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Make sure you select the notification bell. Interact with me, join with me, chat with me, talk back and forth with me about topics, issues that might be of concern, interest around to our political way of thinking here. If you have information that you might want to share and you'd like to share it with me through this venue, please contact me at DCVesser.com. Send me an email. That'll get right to my personal email address through DCVesser.com. We also want to encourage any kind of thoughts. If you have blogs you might want to put out there and blog perhaps, talk with me at DCVesser.com again, or go to my blog spot with DCVesser, rather blogspot.com, I'm sorry, DCVesser.blogspot.com is the address to get to the blog spot. And I'm looking forward to having more sessions like this with you and talking about whatever it is you'd like to talk about. But until then, we'll end for now, and God bless you all and have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend. Bye now.